They are coming back from the funeral and the feelings are already beginning to shift. Mixed with the grief at losing the patriarch is a sense of anticipation and tension. How did he leave his money and his property? Who gets what? Perhaps all will be well, but as evidenced by an increasing number of cases, it could also lead to conflict, bitter court battles, and sometimes family quarrels that can go on for generations. What is it about property that so stirs our most primal emotions? Today's show explores the role of dirty, sexy, full of friction money. Devdutt Pattnaik is a leading mythologist and author of 14 best-selling books on mythology. He is a frequent speaker at international conferences, including at TED. Currently Chief Beliefs Officer with the Futures Group, Devdutt says mythology contains a culture's deepest stories, rituals and symbols. And when you decode the wisdom locked here, you can get answers to why we behave the way we do. Today, he talks about 3 goddesses that impact the role that money plays in a family. Some very surprising insights. One of the subjects I wanted to really deep dive into with you is the subject which actually occurred to me because I see it happening all around, is the number of conflicts and friction that happens within families because of money related issues and very specifically property and land related issues. Why is this an area that is so prone to conflict?
Whenever you're looking at the Ganga, look at the Gangotri. If the Gangotri is polluted, the Ganga will be polluted. So the source of a problem has to be always looked at. So let's look at the source of property. Where does property come from? Property first is not a natural phenomena. It doesn't exist in nature. It's a cultural phenomena. Human beings believe in something called property. A tiger cannot pass its territory, it cannot bequeath it to its son, except in Walt Disney films like Lion King. Now why do we have property? We need property because it ensures our survival. My food, clothing, shelter, my gadi takes me to one place to another, my house. But property is also a source of significance. आपकी औकात क्या है? तो बड़ा घर है तो बड़ा औकात है, छोटा घर है तो छोटा औकात है. So there's an emotional connection to me and my property. You are valued in society based on the value of your property. It defines who we are, fortunately or unfortunately, and therefore will always be in the center of all our conversations.
Right. So property isn't as much a material need as much as it is a symbolic requirement of how important we are.
It makes us feel significant.
Somehow I've sensed that Indians seem to be more emotionally attached to their ancestral property or whatever property they have, and there seems to be many more conflicts around property than you see, for instance, in the US or in European countries. And why is that?
Property attachment is global first, but there are cultural differences. Now, kings all over the world wanted to increase the empire. You know, the Romans wanted to have the vast empire, the British wanted vast empires. What is the logic of it? What is empire, if not a sophisticated form of property? When the child grows 17 or 18, the child is expected to leave the parents' house and start his life on his own terms. It is seen, in fact, it is embarrassing if the child stays with the parent. In India, the child stays in the family home forever. So it is, you are part of the property all your life, especially if it's a joint family. And until recently, we only had joint families. So the notion of dividing the property was dividing the family, which was a huge emotional conflict.
And in India, what are some of the beliefs that are in our DNA as Indians vis-a-vis property?
So at a fundamental level, attachment to property is delusion. I mean, that's a given. And anybody who tries to challenge that is an idiot.
What does that mean?
It means that this whole idea that you are giving meaning to the property has no meaning. You think बड़े घर से मैं बड़ा आदमी बन गया, कुछ नहीं होता है.
Why are so many people fighting to death for property?
Because I identify myself through the property. It's like brand, no? When I wear a branded shirt, I feel good about myself. So the shirt is making me feel good about myself. I don't feel good about myself. My notion of my self-worth and self-esteem comes from my shirt. So when the tiger is fighting for its territory, it is fighting for its survival. When human beings are fighting over property, what are they fighting for? They are fighting for their imagination of themselves, their self-image.
I've always wondered that somebody who already has 6 houses and therefore has no real material need for it will still be fighting tooth and nail for the 7th house. Where is that coming from?
Why do I need 6 houses? Your survival needs as a human being are very basic.
Yeah.
It will vary from person to person. Some person will be happy with just rice and dal. Some people will say, okay, no, I want biryani. But at the maximum, your survival needs are very less. But your need for your significance of what is your perception of yourself is infinite. That will never end. So 6 is not enough. 10, then 20, then 40. It's infinite. Because the focus is on what I have, not what I am.
मेरे साथ ये सौतेला व्यवहार क्यों होता है? शिवा को जो इस घर में इज्जत मिलती है वो मुझे क्यों नहीं दी जाती? मैं हर लिहाज में शिवा से बड़ा हूँ. वो सिर्फ 525 रुपए कमाता है और मैं 1725 रुपए, 1725 रुपीस.
तुम्हें इस घर में रहने का कोई हक नहीं है. तुम अभी इसी वक्त इस घर से बाहर निकल जाओ.
Indian attitudes towards money have evolved through the decades. For centuries, we worshipped Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, but always in context, as one part of a balanced life. With Mahatma Gandhi, our attitude towards money changed, and for several decades, we looked down on affluence and materialism as something almost entirely negative. Then came the liberalization of the 80s, and our attitudes changed again to an almost intoxicated pursuit of money, money and only money. Devdutt says that as we abandoned our mythology, we also abandoned our wisdom. Now Devdutt, you look at families and businesses and organizations through a mythological lens. What are the sorts of issues you see happening in families vis-a-vis money? What are the fault lines?
Now, what is the difference between a house and a home? A house is a physical structure. A home is an emotional structure. And I would like to add, it also has an intellectual component in it. What is called sanskar. Let's go look at a child. You send the child to school and assume that the school will give values. The school will give school values. It will not give you home values. You come back home. Where are the values? The father is busy earning money. The mother is busy watching soap operas on television. Values are not coming from what you hear. Values come from what you see. And you see that your father is valuing money over you because he comes home late at night because he has to earn money and the mother supports it. Look at the reality shows. Unless, in fact, I know script writers of reality shows who have told me that if there's no conflict, the ratings go down. So we want fighting to come into our households through our television.
All this is actually forming a layer of subconscious beliefs in a growing child, which will probably play out at later stages in their
Aana to
life.
hai hi. It is not probably. It will play out.
Sounds very dismal.
Because it's karmic, no?
Yeah.
You brought it into the house. Nobody forced you to bring it into the house.
So this is what you said right at the beginning, that if the Ganga is merely look back at Gangotri, at what you're bringing into the house in terms of values around money.
My friend's mother, 3 brothers, all 3 are abroad. and the mother is staying alone. She's 70 years old in a 3-bedroom flat. Each child sends lots of money every time, and the mother is like wondering why the children have abandoned her. She is not correlating that that's the sanskar she gave the child, that money is the most important thing. Relationships don't matter. Saw this woman screaming at her children, not getting good marks, you will not get a good job, you will not go to Dubai, you will not go to London. So now the children are in Dubai and London. She's here. Be happy.
The karma has played.
But she's not taking responsibility for it. She's blaming the kid.
Yeah. Why do you see so many disputes occur around property?
I see so many disputes because I think somewhere wisdom is drying up. We think life is about becoming rich. In India, the title life is about becoming wise. Become wise. So when we say buzurg, it meant wise, not very rich. But today we celebrate. So the Chakravarti was celebrated. Like Jains. The Jains were trading communities. They would respect the Chakravarti, who is the ruler of the world. He owns everything. But above him is Tirthankara, who owns nothing. This was the Indian construct.
Devdutt says that Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, is always accompanied by her twin sister, Alakshmi, the goddess of discord. The two are inseparable. And while we cannot see Alakshmi, she is always there, right next to Lakshmi, triggering quarrels, fights and lawsuits. Where there is strife, wealth will eventually leave the house. The only way to diffuse the power of Alakshmi is to keep another goddess by your side, Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge and good sense. Devdutt says if you can somehow manage to keep Saraswati in the house, fights do not take place and even Lakshmi does not move out. Are there particular points within a family's history which are more vulnerable to conflict? You can have a perfectly happy family and then the children begin to get married. Is that
the first point of conflict is when the child is looking for a job. Unemployed children are treated very badly. Ki kaam nahi karta hai, nikamma hai, all those kind of questions will come in. Then you are compared with your friends. Acha, you are earning 10,000 rupees a month. He's earning 15,000 rupees a month. Arey wo dekho, wo Dubai chala gaya. The parents, this conversation with the parents is doing something with the child and he's saying, this is how my value is. My value is how much I have in my bank. And then when it comes to giving of the property, he says, my father's love will be a proportion of what he gives me. How much proportion will he give me?
Right. So money is almost a currency for love.
Absolutely. It has become a currency for love. And when you do that,
it's not always unhappy families. You also often see very happy families and next you know it, the father has died and everybody is fighting with each other. Something shifted.
You know that your property will come to you so long as the father thinks you are a good boy. You will pretend to be a good boy in front of the father. You may not be a real good boy. So the child is behaving because you have instructed him to behave like this. Ki till you mere pair chhu. So you will find in rich families the children are, whenever they see the elders, they just dive at their feet. Pitaji, that you see it. You just have to sit in a 5-star hotel during wedding times, and you'll see the diving of the foot happen.
What do you mean sit in a 5-star hotel during wedding times?
Yeah, because all of them will suddenly be coming in traditional clothes which they've never worn in their life, and they'll be all wearing this heavy jewelry and they'll be falling at each other's feet because the girl wants to show she's sanskari so that wo bahu ban jayegi ek amir ghar ki. So sab dikhai deta hai. And you're like, do they really respect their parents? Or let's see, is it pre-will or post-will?
Yeah. Pre-will or post-will?
Which means once the will has come, let me see how much diving takes place.
So what is the kind of wisdom that you need to balance this lust for Lakshmi?
Where is this lust coming from? If you don't feel good about yourself, if your own self-image is poor, then you depend on a brand to create wealth, to make you feel good about yourself. So I feel good about myself when I sit in a Honda or in a Mercedes or a BMW, and I feel terrible about myself when I have to sit in an auto rickshaw. The question is, what is a comfortable life? Let's say father is, you really would need, let's say, even if you have a business of, your father has a personal wealth of 100 crores and you are not earning any money. How much money, how many crores do you need to live? 10, 20, 50? He gives you 100 crores. But you will, what is the first thing you will say? But why did he give the remaining 400 crores to me? Did he not love me enough? And that's where the rage comes from. Because you're not clear of the role of money in your life. Because initially money was about survival, then money becomes about significance. The day the shift between survival and significance, that shift takes place, the trouble starts.
Business houses collapsing, brothers fighting brothers, hate where there was once love. Devdutt says that if we have conflicts over money, the wise thing is to become aware of the values that we ourselves may have introduced into our home. We have to keep Gangotri clean to keep Ganga clean. Saraswati is the goddess of wisdom. Her gifts come in the form of samskars or good values. But Saraswati will not come to you. If you want her, says Devdutt, you have to go to her. You have to make the effort. If you could listen to Saraswati, what would she say?
She would say nothing. When you are suffering, Saraswati comes next to you and waits for you to look at her. It's up to you to look at her. If you don't look at her, she'll walk away. But at that time, we don't seek her. What do we seek? We are seeking balm. So you'll see people who are in a crisis, they will go to Gurujis and all that, but they're not seeking wisdom. They are seeking comfort me. Comfort me.
So if you had a brother and your father left your property and your brother took it away, what would you do? Would you
cry for a bit and work hard to make my own money. Because I think I'm quite capable of making money on my own.
Suppose you were not. Suppose you were handicapped. Now your father, in his wisdom, built a property for his two sons. One son has kabza karod the whole property. The other son has been left out.
See, the notion of kabza is also delusion, no? Anyway doesn't belong to anybody. Uska karma tha, usko mil gaya. The karma theory is there in India. Either you accept or you don't. It is not in your fate. Let go. See, I would love to be slimmer. I want to have a six-pack ab. But I have to go to the gym, no? The notion of property is Maya. Now, in that, what are you talking about? Justice.
So that's the key thing that you've said to remember, is that property itself is delusion.
Is delusion. So if you get it, you are lucky. Enjoy the delusion. Maya se nacho. You have got money. Enjoy it. If you don't have money, learn why you don't have money. So Saraswati will come into your life. So either when money is with you, then Lakshmi is with you. Money is not with you, Saraswati is probably coming in your direction. Either way, the goddesses are walking in your direction. So why are we so tense?
Lovely. I love what you just said. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
But we don't like Saraswati. No.
You have to work very hard for Saraswati. So what are your big insights from mythology or from the Gita for people who are embroiled in money and property related issues within their own family?
Ask, why are you fighting for the property? Anyway, it doesn't belong to you. Anyway, it doesn't belong to you. So why are you fighting? Where is this rage and anger coming, this righteous indignation coming from? Clearly you are incapable of generating wealth, and therefore you are fighting for wealth.
And yet when you see fights happening in contemporary times, it only leads to unhappiness and suffering.
You see, if you look at the Mahabharata battle, it's Look at the end of the war. At the end of the war, Draupadi has lost all her children. So they got the property back, but they didn't get their children.
Is it possible to have both Lakshmi and Saraswati in our life?
Well, it is. Well, let's put it this way. If you have Saraswati, Lakshmi will follow.
Oh, okay.
But if you have Lakshmi, Saraswati may not follow. So decide what you want. We have become a culture which has valued money a lot. We have not seen money as one of the important things in life. It has become the only thing in life. And anytime you talk against money, people say, "To kya bolta hai? Paisa nahi kamana hai kya?" Nobody is saying that. People say, also money, not only money.
Money and property are emotional issues capable of generating conflict, anger, blood pressure, and long, bitter court battles. Three goddesses hover around the notion of wealth: Lakshmi, Alakshmi, and Saraswati. Which one is sitting in your living room?
When my first movie bombed, Trishakti, which I made, it was a disaster. It was completely disaster. Nobody wrote a review of that movie. Can you imagine? That was the time I cried. I have to tell you this. I was sitting with a friend of mine. फूट के रोया था मैं जब मेरी पहली पिक्चर बॉम्ब हुई थी और बुरी तरह से मैंने 12 बजे लग गई मैं हमेशा बोलता 3 बजे उतर गई थी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री ओनली प्लेस वेयर यू आर पब्लिकली ह्यूमिलेटेड इफ आई एम सिटिंग इन ऑटो आल्सो ही विल आल्सो लुक एंड से साहब क्या बेकार पिक्चर बनाया आपने दैट्स ह्यूमिलेशन